It's the first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade. The advanced new Chevy with more cab room than Ford, plus a brand new extended cab.
Rough, tough, working stuff. Feel the heartbeat of America. Chevrolet. That's today's Chevy truck.
Take the test drive of the decade in the new full-size Chevy.
The heartbeat of America. Chevrolet. That's today's Chevy truck.
As anyone who reads the Wall Street Journal.
Richard Leek and Army Armstrong along with you back in Toledo, Ohio. Not only the home of Corporal Klinger and the Mud Hens, but the home of the Monsters. They're backing away from their autograph session. There you see Mad Dog. He was our fastest qualifier today. This is a tape from earlier in the day when he did qualify. Because he's fastest qualifier, he'll take on USA 1 in opening round competition. Then it's going to be Dale Harris and Casper against Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot. Scott Stevens, King Crunch, takes on Tennessee's John Moore and No Problem. Then it's going to be Ron Dennis and Leadfoot up against Starvin' Marvin Smith and Stomper. And the other Breen boy, Bob Breen, and Wild Hair takes on the Carolina Crusher machine of Gary Porter. It's got to be a day full of action.
Plenty of action coming your way, Richard. The reason being the track, the way the track is set up, nobody has run on this type of a setup before. We're going to be talking about left turn track and right turn track, and everybody has a preference.
Well, we're ready for our first round of competition. One of the Breen brothers, John Breen, will be taking on the USA 1 of Rod Litzow, and they're off and rolling, Army.
Okay, Breen goes to the left turn track. A lot of people think that's the way to go. However, he sits in the middle of the truck, so he doesn't have that much of an advantage. Meanwhile, the USA 1 Chevrolet of Litzow, not qualifying strong, but takes a win.
Rod Litzow, normally a very fast qualifier on the circuit. Today, he was not. He did not have the lane choice as Mad Dog grabbed that. We're going to talk to Rod here in just a moment to see if the lanes really do make a difference in this competition here in Toledo. As a matter of fact, we'll go trackside with Army, who's got Rod Litzow.
Rod Litzow with the USA 1 Chevrolet advances in the next round of eliminations. Now, Rod, a few moments ago, you said you had some problem qualifying. You came out of the right lane. This time, you came out of the left lane. Is there definitely a lane choice difference?
I do like this lane better. It seems a little easier for me to control the truck when I'm coming around this angle.
Does everything look good for the next round?
Yep, real good.
USA #1 Chevrolet moving into the next round. We go back up with the action.
I'm talking about the next round. This ought to be a classic battle here. Dale Harris out of Pearl, Mississippi. And the little Casper machine, he takes on the ultimate monster truck. Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot, they're off and running, Army.
Hoosier looks good. Harris, he's into this thing awfully good himself. Harris has the lane advantage. He's running the lane that Hoosier wants, but Hoosier gets to the jump. However, it's close, Richard. Back to you. We can't tell from our angle.
And coming across the finish line first is Bigfoot and Rich Hoosier grabbing another win on this Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge circuit. Dale Harris putting on a whale of a show, and don't be surprised if he does not come back for more competition. Some of the fans enjoying this as we get ready for more side-by-side action. It is John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee against the Badlands, Woodlands, Texas driver Scott Stevens and King Crunch. This ought to be a good showdown also.
Chevrolet Ford battle. They're lined up side by side. Chevrolet will be making a left turn. Ford will be making a right turn. Let's see what's going to happen, Richard. Going into the infield, Chevrolet had the initial jump, but he looks like he's having a little bit of a problem. The Coors Creek Crunch slows down. The Ford's trying to come back on him, Richard. The finish line judge will have to give us a winner.
Well, it's not really the first truck that goes over all the jump cars. You see the white poles about midway down through the second set of jump cars. That's the finish line, and King Crunch and Scott Stevens took it first. He will move on. Scott Stevens moving on as No Problem will return to the pits for the long drive back to the volunteer state of Tennessee. And our next battle, once again, one we've been looking forward to, Ron Dennis out of Arizona with Leadfoot taking on Starvin' Marvin Smith out of Arnold, Missouri. He's in the Stomper Chevrolet.
Chevrolet's a pair lining up. One out of Arizona, one out of Missouri. The Missouri truck will be making a right turn. That'll be Starvin' Marvin Smith. Looks good, trying to get to the infield. The Arizona truck running a good race with him. Both of them hit the car simultaneously, but it looks like the Arizona truck's in trouble, Richard.
Leadfoot is off the course. That's going to bring a disqualification for him and a win for Marvin Smith. And Stomper 2, the pride of Chevrolet, the heartbeat of America, takes the win this time. Meanwhile, Ron Dennis sits there, finally gets it back running again. Army, on this circuit, as we travel across the country, the Renegades TNT people have set rules about running the courses. Explain those briefly to us.
The number one rule is, number one, you cannot cut the course in any way, shape, or form. There isn't out of bounds, left and right. But the rule that all the drivers really keep an eye on is the fact that whatever you're going over, both front tires must make contact with it. You have to hit what you're jumping over the top of, Richard.
And, of course, Ron Dennis did not do that, so he was the loser, and that sets up this battle between Bob Breen and Wild Hare and Gary Porter out of Carolina in the Carolina Crusher machine.
Porter out of North Carolina, definitely one of the strong up-and-comers. A young independent driver, learning the hard way, doing awfully good, uses Chevrolet for horsepower. He'll be making a right turn, making the left turn in the course that we feel might be the better course is the research and development vehicle of the Breen Boys Racing Team out of Missouri. Both trucks off and running, about an even start. Breen, we're watching the end. He gets a good cut. Now, Breen trying to figure the quick way in. He makes initial contact first, but look at the Carolina Crusher, Richard.
Here comes Gary Porter with a late surge of power. He takes the win, moves on into the quarter-final round of competition. Meanwhile, the Breen boys and their big old toys are going to be going back home. Even though both of them qualified very fast today, neither of them won their heat races. And we're going to say bye-bye for right now in Toledo, but we'll be back. It's more quarter-final round action. It is Casper and Dale Harris returning. Even though he lost, he had the fastest losing time. And boy, he's got a battle coming up, Army, because he's taking on Rod Litzow in the USA 1 Chevrolet. The guy is that is making such a great surge in the point standings right now.
You know, Litzow started off a couple of weeks late on the tour, but he's right at the top of the pile, battling for Bigfoot for this first ever national championship crown in the Monster Truck Series. Running under the colors of True Value Hardware Master Mechanic and the Chevrolet combination. He'll be making a right turn, but Harris out of Mississippi, one of the crowd favorites, a born-again Christian doing a super job. He'll be making a left turn. Coming off the starting line, looks good, Richard.
Well, the thing about Rod Litzow to watch for, he loves exerting that power down the straightaway. Let's watch and see how it happens this time.
Chevrolet half-track, but keep an eye on Casper. He's coming back after him. I don't know who won it. We're coming back topside to you, Richard.
Well, it's official up here. It was Rod Litzow hitting that finish line first. USA 1 Chevrolet, the winner, moves to the semifinals. And you know, Army, in our many travels across the country, we get asked a lot of questions about these monster trucks. One of the biggest questions is about the tires they run.
The tires that they run on these monster trucks actually start life, Richard, on heavy earth-moving equipment. Throughout the United States, as you travel highways and byways, you see the big equipment. This is where the tires come from. 66-inch tall tires, that's what the rules say they got to run. Dale Harris, who just made a super run, shows why he's one of the crowd favorites. And another interesting thing about the tires you were speaking of, they only run 4 to 6 pounds of air pressure, and the tire itself actually helped to absorb some of the blow.
Well, you know, Army, another fascinating thing about these vehicles, besides front-wheel steering, they are also rear-wheel steered.
You know, this is the only motorsport that we know of where the rear steering is mandatory. If you're going to be competitive, you got to steer with the rear wheels also, Richard.
Well, earlier today, Army spent some time with your current national points leader, Rich Hoosier and Bigfoot, and they spoke about the rear-wheel steering.
Monster trucks are so big, in order to compete, they must have rear steering. Rich Hoosier, the driver of Bigfoot. Rich, exactly what is the rear steering concept?
Well, with the concept of having the rear steering enables us to take these bigger trucks with the bigger tires to make a tighter turn. Say, for instance, this track we're at today, we would need this whole half-mile track if we didn't have rear steering. So for the obstacle course that we're working on today, to go down a straight course and then make a turn to come back over the cars, we need the rear steering to make that turn.
Okay, the average passenger vehicle, you steer the front wheels with a steering wheel. How do you operate the rear steer?
Well, with Bigfoot here, we operate the front with the steering wheel like a normal vehicle, and we have a spring-loaded toggle switch on the door, which is electric over hydraulic, that operates the rear with the cylinders, the hydraulic cylinders.
How do you know where the rear wheels are?
That's pretty much a guesswork. You can feel it by driving in the truck, know when you're straight and to know when you're going straight, or I can look out my mirror and I can pretty much line up the tire with the bed of the truck.
Rich, it seems like a tremendous amount of dexterity is required in order to drive the vehicle. You're working the steering wheel on the front, you're working the hydraulics on the rear. How do you know what to work?
Coordination. It takes a lot of coordination to get it to come around a corner, steering this one this way and this one this way, and then try to straighten them all back up so you can be lined up for them cars.
So getting that rear wheel back in line is very, very important. We notice in the starting line, a lot of the drivers are looking to the rear, making sure that those wheels are going to track. That's what they're trying to do, is actually get the rear into track with the front, and then they start to steer.
Right, because if you take off with your rear steering turned a little too much, if you got a lot of horsepower, you could take a chance of breaking an axle.
Well, we're going to find out if Rich Hoosier has got that coordination tonight, because he's taking on the Coors Crunch machine, the King Crunch, Scott Stevens. And as Rich said, it takes not only driving skill and power of the monster, but it takes a lot of coordination between the two.
You know, another thing we talked to Rich Hoosier about a little bit earlier was lane choice, and he said he does not like to make this particular turn he's going to have to make. He'll be turning to his right. The Chevrolet out of the Lone Star State's going to be making a left turn. We're coming back topside with Richard with all the action.
All right, they hit the turns about the same time, but it's going to be the Badlands, Woodlands, Texas driver, Scott Stevens over first, but here comes Bigfoot. Rich Hoosier's going to take the win again. Bigfoot moves to the semifinals, while King Crunch, the Coors machine of Scott Stevens, heads back to the Lone Star State, slowly coming over those final set of Crunch vehicles. A great race. But it was Rich Hoosier that had the power, the coordination, and the monster Bigfoot. Let's go trackside with Army in the winner.
Current national points leader, Rick Hoosier, you're doing it the hard way tonight. Everything's coming off the left side of the track. You're having to turn backwards to the way you normally like to do it. You and King Crunch just put on a war out there. How are you going to win this thing?
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be tough. This competition's getting so hard out here these days, it's hard for everybody to get ahead.
Think you can win it tonight?
I'm going to give it everything I got.
Bigfoot, he'll be back.
And that sets up our last race in the quarterfinal round of competition. Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter against Starvin' Marvin Smith and the Stomper Chevrolet.
Now, Porter is exactly where he wants to be, Richard. He wanted to qualify or run and get in eliminations and advance to where he would get lane choice. He has chosen the left turn lane, pushing Marvin Smith and the Stomper Chevrolet Heartbeat of America over in that right turn lane. They're off and running. It's a good side-by-side shot. Let's keep an eye on them. Both of them going in the infield about the same time, Richard. Back topside to you.
It is Gary Porter with a slight advantage right now. Whoa, wait a minute. Stomper out of the course. That is a prime example as Porter crosses the finish line of how a driver does not coordinate the rear wheels with the front wheels.
Boy, a tough break. The Stomper truck was looking good to hit the infield at the same time, but the rear end did not come back and track like we were talking to Rick Hoosier about a little bit earlier.
Well, you can see how critical on a tough course like this one in Toledo it is that the driver coordinate those rear wheels with the front wheels. We're going to go trackside here in just a moment. Army's going to be talking to Gary Porter about not only the course, but about the fine race he just ran and taking the win over the Stomper Chevrolet. Gary Porter moves to the semifinals.
Gary Porter with a Carolina Crusher advances to the next round of eliminations. Gary, it's looking awfully tough out there tonight.
It is real tough. This is a little tricky course. It takes good driving skills.
The middle of the track in between the two car jumps, that looks to be catching a lot of fellas off guard.
It is. If you bounce wrong off the first set of cars, you're not going to be lined up right for the second set.
We'll let you get back with the pit crew. Good luck to you in the semis.
Thank you.
And we're going to be back with the semi-final round of competition from Toledo on ESPN in a moment. The machine of Rod Litzow has broken a rotor, and the crews have been down there working on it, trying to get it fixed.
Yeah, Ever Jasmer, the truck owner, they've been thrashing back in the pit area. When he fired the engine, it boomed on him real loud. We thought he lifted a supercharger, but it wasn't. It was something in the electrical system. We understand a distributor cap. They did get it back together. They will be in competition, Richard.
Well, you know, just like a lot of race fans watch the NASCAR stock car races each and every week, they see how fast those crew members work on cars. These guys have to be pretty fast and good mechanics themselves to get these vehicles ready in between each race.
You know, everybody does have a time limit. They're aware of it. They had the problem. Scott Stevens was ready to come out had the USA one not been able to make the call, but he did make the call. He's here. We're right back with another war, and look who he goes up against this time, Richard.
Well, it's going to be Bigfoot, your current national leader with Rich Hoosier, taking on that gentleman right there, Rod Litzow, USA 1, who has made a tremendous surge in the point standings. As a matter of fact, don't be surprised if he keeps running the way he has been of late, of overtaking Rich Hoosier for the national title before it's all over, said and done this year.
You know, I know all the Chevrolet people around the country are pulling for exactly that, but right now the work's cut out for him. The man he's got to beat for the national championship, he's got to beat him right now to pull in on the points chase.
Well, this is the classic setup also. Your Ford fans against your Chevrolet fans, Rich Hoosier and Rod Litzow. The fans are ready, the trucks are lined up, and we're going to go racing here in just a moment as darkness starts to fall here in Toledo, Ohio. They are off and running. And let's sit back and just enjoy this classic battle, Ford against Chevy.
Both trucks exactly where they want to be. The Ford got the jump on the infield. They know the Ford hangs on for a win, but believe me, the heartbeat of America, USA 1 Chevrolet, was breathing down Rich Hoosier's neck, but Hoosier stays on top. Not only with the win here, but also it helps cushion his national points lead, Richard.
And Army, all throughout the day, we've had the drivers talking about lane choices. It looked like both drivers satisfied with where they started.
You know, as both drivers go by, they wave to the crowd with smiles on their faces. They were exactly where they wanted to be on that run.
Well, you know, these trucks, as you've just seen, move awfully fast down these tracks across America. The TNT officials have developed some safety features to put in these vehicles for driver protection. Here's a feature with Army.
As the monster trucks travel across the country, safety a very important part of it. Now they're really leaning on equipment. They're flipping, they're flying, they're rolling end over end. Safety, something that the TNT Motorsports people are always trying to improve on. Right here is the latest in safety equipment. It's an electronic kill box. The kill box is mounted in each truck prior to the run. Side-by-side competition, you have different boxes on different frequencies. Right here is a monitor that a track official is responsible to operate in case of an upset or a runaway truck. This is a last-ditch safety effort to stop the vehicles in case a runaway should occur. The track official that operates it must be aware of one thing. A lot of times in this sport, the monster truck actually needs all the horsepower he can have when he gets himself into trouble. He needs the horsepower to actually pull out of a jam. So the safety kill switch, very responsible position, as the track crew is responsible to stop that vehicle instantly with the flick of a switch should he be out of control.
And now we are ready to find out who is going to face Bigfoot for the championship tonight. Will it be Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter, or look who is back again? He has lost 2 races tonight already, but he's had the fastest times. That is Dale Harris in the Casper machine.
Dale Harris, he's the free spirit of the sport. Believe me, he runs a Toyota body, but he stays with the American Chevrolet to make the awesome horsepower. He'll be making a left-hand turn. That's where Harris wants to be. Now, Porter comes out. He's going to be pushed over to where he makes a right turn. This is not the lane that he wants, so he's going to be a little bit apprehensive when he cranks to the inside. Everybody's trying to dive to the inside of the track as quickly as possible this evening, Richard. That left turn looks to be the way to go.
So you're saying right off the bat it's going to be Dale Harris out of Pearl, Mississippi with the advantage on the track, and that would be a first win for Dale Harris and Casper if he can pull it off here. He's lost twice previously, but he's had tremendous fast times, and we're racing.
Side by side, they take their shot. We're keeping an eye on. They run up in the corner. Harris cranks down on the inside, and Richard, I believe, I can't tell from my viewpoint, did he hit a track marker?
He certainly did, running over a boundary tire there, but here comes Dale Harris with the win in Casper. I saw sparks underneath the machine. Dale Harris may have double trouble here. First of all, he ran over a boundary tire. That could call for a disqualification, and also possibility of a mechanical problem as sparks came out from underneath. Let's go trackside with Army and your apparent winner, Dale Harris.
Kind of an all-American story here. This kid out of Mississippi, Dale Harris, with the Casper truck, fighting from the bottom of the pile to get into final of this thing. You are really leaning on some equipment out there tonight, Dale.
Yes, it's costing me greatly over on equipment and everything else. The truck is real durable, but the competition here at TNT Motorsports, you can't find any rougher competition. All these boys are number 1. Ain't none of them any slouch.
Well, we just got word that Dale Harris was disqualified for running over that boundary tire. It did not matter. He broke his drive shaft, and we'll be back with the championship in a moment. Ford, Bigfoot, and Rich Hoosier up against a Chevrolet. Tonight, it's going to be the Chevrolet of Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher.
Porter is going to be exactly where he wants to be, Richard. He's going to be making that all-important left turn. Hoosier, he doesn't mind telling you, he doesn't like the lane he's going to be going in. He would much rather be on the backstretch turning left. Not the case. However, a lot of confidence shown by Hoosier. He comes over and his normal work in the crowd perfect. All the Ford people believing in this big, beautiful blue Ford of Bob Chandler's based out of Missouri. But the Chevrolet people are sitting patiently. They know that Porter, working his way up through the national points chase, could put this mountain motor Ford away. We're going to find out in just a moment. The track crew's getting them lined up. Richard, what does it look like on your end?
Toledo, Ohio. Bigfoot and Carolina Crusher, they're off and running.
Whole shot, side by side, they leave the starting line. It looks like Hoosier may dive in the infield first. He does. He'll approach the first jump. However, don't count the Crusher out. Hoosier not backing off. An awesome shot, almost noses it over, Richard.
Rich Hoosier goes almost up and over on his nose, but he claims the championship in Toledo. Rich Hoosier, with a tremendous surge of power, crosses the finish line as he has done so many times this year. He pads more points to that national championship chase that he's got going right now. Rich Hoosier is your winner. Let's go trackside with Army Armstrong and the champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Hoosier puts Bigfoot in the winner's circle again. Congratulations, Rich.
Thanks, Army. It was tough out there. Gary Porter with Carolina Crusher is one of our toughest competitions these days, and from what I hear, it was a very close race.
Yeah, it was. We were watching when you went over that last jump. We actually thought you were going to get into the barrier on the end of the track. Were you aware you were that close to it and you had that much ground speed?
Yeah, it was. What happened when I hit that set of cars, it threw me a little crooked, and it made me give a nosedive. When it did like that, my first instinct is to give it some power to pull out so I could come down straight. I knew how much room I had, and I knew I had enough room to stop, but I didn't want to end up on my roof.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bigfoot's done tonight what he's done so many times all over the country. He's your current national points leader. He takes another win for the Ford Cab.
Well, Rich Hoosier, a young, personable, good-looking kid out of St. Louis, Missouri, wins himself another championship. And tonight in Toledo, we found out that it not only takes power, it takes coordination to run these monster trucks across the country. That's it from Toledo, Ohio. I'm Richard Leek, along with Army Armstrong, saying we'll see you on the tracks across America.
Join us next time for Powertrax.
Productions moves on to